Hello, everyone. I want to do a quick essay, just talking a little bit about the first essay. There are two questions here. Please choose one and only one. They are distinct questions, and you should only base your essay on one of them, one or the other, not both. First of all, I'd like to say, generally speaking about this essay assignment and all the essay assignments, that they are 500-word essays. That's about 2 pages, typically. That's not a lot of space. One could even say that it's not enough space, but it's definitely not a lot of space to really address the questions that are proposed to you as essay prompts here. So one of the general pieces of advice I can give you about this is be direct in your essays, insofar as they are responses to these questions that I'm asking you. You don't want to waste any space in your essays, and you want to begin to address the specific question asked right away. Set that up right away. So yes, you've got 500 words. It can go longer, but the 500 words is really the benchmark. So you don't want to waste any time. You want to get right down to business, and by that I mean specifically thinking about responding to the actual question asked in the assignment. So you have a choice here, either this question about Nagel or a question about Bruckner and Fisher. Let's look at the first question. Did Nagel refute Epicurus's claim that death cannot ever be considered a bad for the one who dies? Why or why not? Okay, so that asks a very specific thing, that is to evaluate the argument that Nagel offers in his essay, Death, that indeed, sometimes at least, death is a bad for the one who dies. Now, although he never mentions Epicurus by name, if you are arguing that death can, in fact, at least sometimes be considered a bad for the one who dies, then you are attempting to refute Epicurus. So did Nagel refute Epicurus's claim that death cannot ever be considered a bad for the one who dies? Why or why not? What you're being asked to do is to evaluate an argument there. So what it presupposes is that you can give an account of that argument, that you can give the basic thrust of that argument. What does Nagel offer? What reasons does he offer that death can be considered a bad for the one who dies? And are they good reasons? So it's not the kind of thing where you just sort of give a general account of everything, or an attempt to give a general account of everything that Nagel says in that essay. It's got to be focused on what the question actually asks about. And that is the main argument of his essay, which talks about a few other things, but is really the heart of it is trying to establish that death can be thought of as a bad for the one who dies, despite the kind of things that Epicurus says. So really what you need to write a successful response to that question is a grasp of Epicurus. Why would he ever say that death can't be considered a bad for the one who dies? How does Nagel respond to that and attempt to refute it? And is it a good refutation? So really that's what you should be concentrating on if you choose that option. The second one has to do with the asymmetry problem and Bruckner and Fisher's proposed solution to it in their essay, Why is Death Bad? The absolute starting point for an essay in response to this question would be a grasp of what the asymmetry problem is. Secondly, a grasp of what it would mean to solve it. And thirdly, a grasp of what Bruckner and Fisher's particular solution is. There is a specific video that I put up that just discusses the issue of the asymmetry problem and the issue of in general, what it would mean to solve it. That's an absolute key, I think, to choosing this. If you've watched that and you understand what I was getting at there, then go ahead. If you didn't watch it and you don't really know, if you're fuzzy about what a solution to the asymmetry problem would be, then don't choose this option. So really, you need a foundation in a grasp of what the asymmetry problem is, and a grasp of what it would mean in general to solve it. Remember, that has to do with rationality, essentially. I mean, what Bruckner and Fisher are trying to do is to establish that it indeed is rational to regard prenatal non-existence and posthumous non-existence differently, that is, asymmetrically. It's fully rational, reasonable to do so. They're trying to argue that. So you really need to say, well, that's what it means to solve the asymmetry problem, is to justify the asymmetrical view we have of these two periods of non-existence. If that's clear in your mind, go ahead and do this. But you need to evaluate Bruckner and Fisher's particular solution, right? What the asymmetry problem is, what a solution to it in general would be, as background to the particular solution that Bruckner and Fisher offer. I'll tell you right now that you have to get to the end of the essay in order to do this. You simply have to take into account what they say in the last part of their essay, which I believe is called Why Death is Bad. That is their particular solution to the asymmetry problem, after they say that the first apparent solution, which is illustrated by Parfit's hypothetical involving the patient who doesn't know if he will have a painful operation or already has had it, that they believe that is not a solution for reasons that they offer. And then they offer their own solution, which they think is better. So you have to sort of get to the end. And that's generally good advice for all of the texts in this course, is you have to get to the end, because oftentimes you have to get to what the author is offering as a solution to a problem. So I hope that this clarifies to some degree. Again, my best advice is that, because these essays are short, is that you want to get right to the point, and you want to really focus on the question and make sure you understand the question asked. And again, I'm available. So if you have any specific problems or questions that you want to clarify, feel free to contact me.